G'day everyone. This is probably the third video in a little bit of a series that I'm doing with Guilio Marcolongo. He's been wonderful in coming the 5 hours west from where he lives to visit me and help get these videos done. We're doing a series of videos on the Vermec off-centre chuck, a chuck that Guilio had a lot to do with in the design phase, and also the refinement. So a few of these multi-centre chucks were made and you've refined them.
Yeah.
And we've got it right now?
Got it exactly right.
Okay. Today, or in this video I should say, Guilio is doing this multi-centre goblet, and not only has got 2 different centres that he's working on here, or 3 if you count the symmetrical one, but even the goblet itself, the cup section is being turned on different axes, yes. So Guilio is going to be showing us how he did it in this video. How he has done this in this video is what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
Did I get that right, Guilio?
You got it right.
Okay. Now, we didn't get it finished, but it's not a finished product, but it's certainly, the video certainly shows you exactly how the process is done. So I'm now going to hand it over to Guilio and he's going to show you how we got this done.
Yeah. The wood is Sally wattle and it's around about a foot long. We're going to mount it.
What's the diameter, Guilio?
Diameter is about 70 millimetres.
So not quite 3 inches?
Not quite 3 inches.
Yep.
And we're going to mount this now into our screw chuck, our off-centre chuck. It's got 1 screw. We're going to screw that on there, and then we're going to screw that on there.
Now that hole that you've drilled up there initially was about a quarter of an inch.
What is a quarter of an inch?
Yeah.
And what we're going to try and do is stop this flexing. By stopping the flexing, we're going to put some screws in here, one either side, and that will stop any vibration that's in there. It's very difficult to hollow out something into end grain at least about 15 inches long. Very difficult, so we're going to try and do that. So we need to put the screws in there. One either side. Very good idea. So we've done all that. Now let's turn the lathe on and see if there's any. As you can see now, it's running perfectly true. I'm going to turn first, before we do any, when we do the goblet, any shape, anything off centre, we have to form the shape first. And of course this is going to be round. I use a detail gouge. Before I do the detail gouge, I'm going to part down to within 1 inch of the centre. So maybe to get a bit of support while we're starting, we'll use a tail stop. A little bit of support, just to start turning the goblet. So down we go. So now we're down to about 3/4 of an inch. I will now do the goblet head. Going to speed up a little bit more. And there we are, nice and smooth. I'm just going to relieve the back end of the goblet. Going to have a gradual curve on there because we're going to turn this off centre later. And we need to clean up the base of it. Base of the goblet, nice and clean. So now that I've done that initial shaping, I have to put a black line in here. So I know then I need somewhere to work to. So if I put that all the way through there, I know when I turn my goblet that I can work to either side of the black line. We stop the lathe, have a look. I'm going to offset this now 5 millimetres. I'm going to set it off 5 millimetres on the larger part of the chuck. So 5 millimetres. And we're doing the outside of the goblet. We're not hollowing it out as yet. We have to determine the shape of the goblet first, which is going to be oval. Again, we can use our life centre just to support the wood while we're doing the off centre. Now before we turn the lathe on, we turn it down low so as we don't have a lot of vibration, a lot of noises, so we've done that. And when we turn this down, I've turned this outside edge down to, if you're going to do an oval goblet, turn the outside edge down to that line, but we don't go all the way to the bottom. If you go all the way to the bottom, you're going to end up losing the shape. And you're going to end up hitting the main wood. So let's do that. So we've got to just cut down to the bottom. Damage we did to the wood. As you can see here, we're getting closer to the black line. We've got to take another cut. Stop the lathe and have another look. So we're getting closer to this outside edge here. Stop the lathe and another look. So we're getting down closer to this edge. Over here we're just about done. What we might do, leave it at that. We'll turn off the other side, then we'll clean it up with a skew chisel. That way we'll end up with an oval goblet. So now we need to transfer that, go 180 degrees, 180. So we do that on the smaller part of the chuck, which is the alternating section of the chuck. So we go 180 degrees. So now we're going to do the other side. You can see where my finger touches there, moves away from where we cut it. So we're going to now take down and we go to the opposite direction, opposite of the other cut, and away we go. We nearly got down to the line on that side, and we've just about got a nice straight line on here. About the same on both sides. So now I need to get my skew chisel, use it as a scraping tool to get that really nice clean cut. So just use the skew chisel, get it nice and clean. And have a look. So one side now is fairly smooth. We need to do the other side now. The finish you get when you're using this technique, of course, you've got to go really fast. So you can see now we've got the
Beautiful.
nice cut, nice shape. There's a bit more refining at the base here. But you can see what we're trying to achieve here, Brendan. Now we're pretty close to both sides. Now unfortunately I have to hollow this out. We take away the tool rest, the tailstock.
Now if we were sanding this, would we sand it now?
We would sand it now.
Yeah, okay.
Now to sand, what I would do is I would hold the sandpaper like so. Don't hold it under there with your hand, hold it out like that. And you end up with a nice little rolly edge there. So now we have to put it back in centre to hollow out. So we take away the tailstock. So now, after I've hollowed that out, I'm going to use just a little bit of, just to show you that to get in there we need to use a negative ray scraper rather than a conventional scraper because of the vibration. And we'll just put it up a little bit. There we go. So we're going to now turn this off centre. 25 millimetres, that'll make it 50. Wow, that's a lot of wood coming around there. A lot of weight, a lot of pressure. So this is going to spin round. We'll turn the lathe down low. This is quite difficult. What you've got to do is do not look at the chisel. If you look at the chisel, you get mesmerised. You have to look at the profile at the top. Take a few little cuts. And take the other way. Do not look at the chisel. Now I use my body. I don't use my hands. I use the weight of my body. And I work out where I want to be. And on the other side, as you can see, I'm using the body, which gives me the curve. Not my arms don't move, just my body. I think that did a better job. Fairly nice and round, a little bit of broking away at the top there. Not much we can do with that, had a catch on there. Now let's turn this around and see if we can get this curve going here a little bit maybe. Before I do that though, I'm going to try the roughing gouge and get a nice round curve. So we have that sort of S-bend we're looking for. So let's go and do now, go around to 180 degrees, 180 degrees, and see how we go with getting the S-bend. That's 180 degrees. So what will happen here is we're going to take away, the wood away from where my finger is, as you can see. I'm going to come down here and over this way. And we're going to use, I'm going to try and use the roughing gouge because this is, the grain's going in this direction. I'm going to tread it like a spindle job. Stop the load and have a look. See what's happening here. As you can see, I've got it this way and I need to keep going until I get right down in there.
I quite like that, and then it just sort of flows into this big base here.
Well, we'll make it even better.
Yeah, that's nice. Looking good.
Well, it's quite difficult, but it comes down to the skill that you have and your tool work. I like using the roughing gouge. Look, see what's happening. We're getting that swan neck type shape. Ideally, Brendan, if I'd used the roughing gouge in here, I would have more than likely got a better
because
better
this is a lovely cut in here.
Yeah. So I'm going to keep going until I get this a little bit thinner down in here. I can't get much thinner because if I get too thin in here, it's going to really destroy the whole thing. So let's maybe go back and get a little bit more cut down the bottom. So we've got that down to about where we want to be. As you can see, we've got an S-bend in it. If we had a weaker piece of wood, we could more likely make a nice job of that. But we can clean it up anyway. We can clean all this up in here with a Dremel or whatever. And now we need to maybe decide on what we can do with the foot. But because we haven't got enough wood, Brendan, screws, we're going to be restricted with the screws that we have in here. But if we now go 180 degrees again, we're going to have another S-bend on the bottom. We're going to come in underneath there, under here, and then we're going to have a flat foot, flat base. So let's put it back on 180, or back to where we were before.
thanks, Julia. That's really very impressive. I'm loving that shape. I have seen a lot of off-centre work, and a lot of it I don't like. It's just a bit too random for me. This one has got a bit of symmetry to it. It's a lovely flowing curve, and cleaning this up, and that will be a sensational project. You had a little bit of trouble with it.
Yeah, quite a bit of trouble with it. I couldn't get the speed up fast enough. To turn something off centre like this, you really need a fair amount of speed so the tool doesn't bounce off the wood.
Yeah, and the issue there was that I haven't got my lathe bolted to the floor, and that was one of the reasons why we couldn't get that
speed up.
Yeah. It is not a beginner's project, so in fact a lot of this off-centre work you probably wouldn't want to do if you are a beginner to wood turning. Get your skills in turning bowls and spindle work and that. Get those skills going first before you tackle this. And this project in particular is, even for a good wood turner, fairly challenging.
Very challenging.
Yeah, very challenging project. And the idea of not looking at your tool, which you kept on saying, don't look at your tool.
You can't look at the tool when you're doing something like this.
Yeah, and that's...
You have to look at the silhouette or the shadow to see where you're cutting.
Right, yeah, and that's can be quite disconcerting for those who aren't really competent with their tools. But for those of you who are, there's an excellent project with a lot of design possibilities.
Exactly.
Yeah, lots of design possibilities. So thanks very much for that, Julia. That was great. I think you're going to do another one of those and perhaps send through some photos for me.
Yep.
So we'll see some good copies of this.
Yep.
In the meantime, make sure you keep turning safely, and I will see you once you subscribe to my channel or like me on Facebook. You turn with Brendan Stemp. I'll see you another time. Thank you. See ya.
You turn a swan.
Yeah.
So you take that off. There's a swan.
Yeah. Or a cobra.
Yeah.
There's a cobra, right? Yeah.